Hey, welcome back to the BVB podcast. My name's Jacob, joined as always by Carver, and joined this week, special guest Jake from 50 Plus Döner. How you doing, man? How's it going?
Hello, hello. How are you guys? Seventh place now. You're getting inching ever so closer.
Just
We're
slowly
all the way up,
climbing up.
baby.
It was, and not to say like it might still end doom and gloom. Like I don't want to get too carried away, but a few weeks ago on this, like maybe in just last month, a few weeks ago on the podcast, it was pretty bad. I was like, we're not making Europe. There's no chance at all. But yeah, I mean, we've been kind of taking care of the business in the Bundesliga. We unfortunately go out in the Champions League, and now just coming off the Champions League too. Like I've reflected a bit more on that, and I mean, Barcelona is so good, right? And that last match was amazing, and like I can't be too upset about that, especially because I feel like a couple of seasons ago we were like, can we just make it like out of the knockout round, like the first phase of the knockout round, where like we get bumped out of the Champions League, go down to Europa League, and then we get knocked out of that in the first knockout round too. We're like, I remember saying like I just want a good Champions League run. We've had a couple good seasons of that, so it's like cool. I can be happy with our run in this year's Champions League. But yeah, like I said, taking care of business in the Bundesliga. Got another win on the weekend, home versus Gladbach. A little hairy at times, but we got the business done. The new Kovac era is here, and it's been here for a bit, but I know it's been a while since we've talked to you, Jake, specifically. And so I'm excited to talk about that. We're going to talk about a big BVB Frauen match this weekend. Just what's going on in the Bundesliga in general, because if you're not familiar with Jake from 50 Plus Döner, real quick, do you want to give a quick shout out for you and your show and what you do?
Sure, yeah. So I'm actually half a 50 Plus Döner. My co-flam, who is a Dortmund fan allegedly, B-flam. We have our show on Thursday where we talk about all things German soccer. So we try to cover everything like Frauen Bundesliga, Zweite Bundesliga, the first league. We try to make it fun. We do like a fun half of the show where we play a game or something like that. Like this week, actually B-flam's in charge of it, so I'm gonna get jump scared with what he comes up with. But yeah, we're every Thursday, and summer's coming up. We've got a lot of stuff covered for the stretch of no games that we're gonna have. So come follow us if that sounds fun to you.
In the summer, going harder. Carver and I were like, cool, we'll take a little break. And you're like, no, going all in.
I mean, there's a lot of fun stuff, right? Like World Cup, even though it's gross, might as well go. It's down the street. So and we've been working very hard on our Bundesliga spelling bee, which I asked you guys about, and Bundesliga D&D. So we've got a lot of stuff to go over.
And completely random, but I've been following B-Flam on Twitter lately, and I know he was also watching WrestleMania with me over the weekend. So I got to see a few of his takes on there if there are any other wrestling fans out there.
All right, he's a great follow. You're a great, awesome guy. So definitely follow him too.
Awesome. Well, I mean, having you on and you like 50 Plus Döner, you guys kind of cover everything as you mentioned, which is why I always like having you on the show too, because it's nice having that perspective that's slightly outside of the Dortmund camp. I say slightly because you're a co-host who's allegedly a Dortmund fan, but you definitely outside of the Dortmund realm. So it's exciting. I always love having you on, and I just like looking at the league holistically too, and especially as we get in these final few weeks. We were talking about it before we started recording, but Dortmund's officially in contention when I wrote them out of Europe completely a few weeks back, and I'm happy to be wrong. I'm so happy to be wrong. So I mean, things are really exciting in the league as we wind down, so we'll talk about that too. But let's start Gladbach. Really exciting game on Sunday. Apologies if last week on the episode I said the game was on Saturday, because I firmly thought it was on Saturday until I woke up Saturday morning and was like, wait, when is it? What time's this game? Dortmund's not playing. It honestly ruined my Saturday morning because I was so ready to just watch Dortmund and the game was on Sunday. I actually just watched it. We're recording Monday evening. I watched it today. I blocked off everything. I had no spoilers. I survived. I had a solid blackout, and I watched it live, instant reaction. Yeah, it was a crazy match. So we ended up winning 3-2. But we'll start with the lineup as we do, and I mean we're just kind of riding true with this three at the back. I want to say 3-4-3, 3-4-2-1, depending on who's in there. But we've been strong with our three at the back, which is quite the shift from what we'd seen beforehand. We kind of started the season in this, and we're like, this isn't going to work. We don't have enough center backs, but somehow we're pulling it off, even being down a center back. We got Chan, the extra one, who does not start this match, which means Kobel in goal is the captain, because Brandt also got shafted, got benched in this game, which I think a lot of fans RIP Brant boys. We had a good run, but yeah, they have died. Brant boys kind of on the outs, but Sula, Anton, and Benzabaini are our three center backs. Kuto getting the start, Mecha and Gross in the midfield, Svensson, the left wing back, then Bayer, Adeyemi, and Girassi up top. Carver?
Yeah, there's so little margin for error this rest of the season. It needs to be perfect given the situation we put ourselves in, and two colossal games on right between, like we mentioned before, Bayern and Barcelona. This team has played a lot of football, a lot of really crucial football against the best teams in the world within the span of just 7 days. So this was obviously a very big load for the players, but Kovac is really a man for that sort of thing, given he's really, really into fitness, and he wants his players being in top physical shape. Although the players at the end of this game did look really gassed, they gave it their all, and it was enough to actually get over the line against this Gladbach team that really both teams were going at it from the jump here. But Jake, any thoughts from you about this game, or just Dortmund leading up to this game? Any thoughts that you've had on the club as of late?
Since we're admitting being wrong about stuff, I wrongfully thought that Champions League game was a little bit of a flash in the pan. I thought they were going to come out and get smoked by Gladbach, but I think this was a good mental fortitude game, right? Like, I think everybody on Earth probably thought the same thing I did, and probably thought the same thing after that first really good Itakura goal. But they came back, and they came back super, super strong in that second half, and like, I think one of the things that is kind of not false, but kind of like a misleader about this is that it was a 1-goal game, but that one last one was from a penalty, and like a fair penalty and whatnot. But I mean, regardless of that second half was entirely Dortmund, and that was just a really good. I would be very encouraged if I was a Dortmund fan going into that, because like you said, these last 4 games are extremely important. Like, I feel like the other teams around you on the table can kind of like, oh, well, we miss Europe. Like, we gave our best shot. But, like, Dortmund is required. Like, you have to get some kind of European spot. Right. And for them to go out there with that kind of expectation and that kind of pressure and play like that was really, really impressive. So, hats off to them. It was really, really good.
Yeah, and just to emphasize what you were saying here, Kovac also mentioned in the press conference, like, it was a tough fight, and it wasn't easy to make that mental switch that you needed after the Barcelona game. Overall, it was a very combative in performance and in terms of play. I would have liked us to finish the game a little bit more calmly, as we know there was some nervy moments. But in the end, yeah, we were able to, going off the comments of Kovac there, but just, yeah, we were able to actually get over the line there. And again, like I mentioned, big mental thing here as well as a physical to go against this Gladbach side after 2 big games.
And looking back, because I know you mentioned the Barcelona game as kind of a flash in the pan, and it was an epic performance, but it seems like ever since the international break, Dortmund's kind of been on a rise a little bit. Because we come back from international break, we beat Mainz 3-1, we beat Freiburg 4-1. There is the 4-0 battering that we got away at Barcelona. That's really
harsh
the only
scoreline, though. We did generate some chances here, but yeah, that was rough.
And then we draw 2-2 with Bayern away. And then, of course, we have that win, beating Barcelona in the Champions League and now Gladbach. So we're on a really good streak if you take that first Barcelona match out of there. Like, it seems like coming back from the international break I feel like when we really saw Kovac try the 3 at the back, and that's what we've been doing this whole time. And it seems like, okay, he figured things out. He had some extra time in that international break. And now it's all clicking. Like, the guy, maybe they probably deservedly got yelled at a ton, hopefully so. But like the guys, I think we hit on it last week, like it seems like the team knows what they need to do. And obviously, as we're down to crunch time, I'm mad that it took this long to get here, but we're here now. And so if we can sneak in, I think that's the correct words to use, sneak into Europe in this last run, then yeah, that's great. But this was a really, like, getting into the match more specifically, like both teams were at it. It was so physical right off the bat, which I like too. It's the Borussia derby, if you want to call it that. The commentators were hyping that up a little bit just with the namesake, but both teams were going at it. It was very physical. Early yellow card for, I think, Scally. Then, I mean, chances both ways. Like, first 15 minutes was pretty hectic. And then, yeah, as you said, we give up that goal. And that's when the hope started to die a little bit. I was like, oh, no, I'm not prepared for this. It's like everything I hoped for the last 2 weeks, it's all gone.
I wasn't feeling that so much, but just because it was so open before and after that. And like you mentioned, there was lots of transitions back and forth. There was lots of space to be exploited on both teams. I think the one thing that we could maybe that Kovac could craft a little bit more is just that front three. Maybe try to switch the shape up a bit, because whenever you have Bayer go down, unfortunately, in that 27th minute, hopefully it's not nothing serious, as he's recently found some great form that we've discussed a few times before. But that front three seems a bit more disconnected at times. And you see whenever Chukwuemeka comes on, Kovac mentioned this, players mentioned this, and the fan base is also aware of this as well, that he was the game changer when he comes on in that number 10 slot, sliding right into the hole underneath Adeyemi and Guirassy. You see that front three clicks a little bit better with that different shape. And I get what Kovac is trying to do with the front three. You have the two really hard workers in Bayer and Adeyemi on either side of Guirassy. I was actually even fancying that earlier in the season too. But just given that the Chukwuemeka has been such a great addition to this team when he is fit in the second half of the season, I think that's going to be a bit more effective, and it gives a bit more rotation too for those three players as well, so they're not constantly, having such big asks for them in terms of just like the distance that they need to cover, which is required for a Kovac in those fitness levels. Because you saw too, I mean, I'm not sure if this is specifically about the fitness levels, probably more so the lack of composure we had with the ball towards the end of the game. But you see the tirade that he had with Anton here. He's clearly a very demanding coach, and I think that we could have been a bit more sharp and precise with the ball at our feet here in that second half. But yeah, thankfully it was enough to keep the fire going for this team to get the win.
Yeah, Jake, I'll come to you on, I guess, Chukwuemeka a little bit and what you see as, I mean, his player profile is what he did in this match and what we've seen in other matches too. The Freiburg match, I think, is the one where he got his goal too, and maybe assist, or at least like ran through the middle of the park to eventually lead to a goal. But yeah, his impact on like the little time or minutes he's had. And do you realistically think this is a player that Dortmund will put the money down for and keep around?
Well, I mean, that's always a big question, isn't it?
Because I don't.
It's like who they
never
decide.
fall in love with a lone player.
I don't know.
And we're doing it again, time and time again.
They can't Mukoko him, right? You guys hit it on the head. Like, I was so impressed by when he came in. Like, I think, like, at that point, like you're saying, like, the attack, like, even though they didn't score in the second half, like, you could clearly tell when he came in, and, like, Guirassy had, I thought, a fantastic game. He was constantly threatening, and as soon as he came in there, like, it just kind of doubled even. Mm-hmm. And that's good. I think that's good. Like, of course, they don't play the same position, but I think, like, he brings that offensive spark that you were hoping Julian Brandt was going to bring in. So,
yeah exactly.
I think it's good. Like, if I was Dortmund, I would definitely be doing my best to, like, give him a few more years so he could develop and not just hide him away on the bench like tends to happen some other young prospects that Dortmund had had. But I think with a coach like Kovac, if he's going to be the long-term coach or something, I think out of all the negatives you can say about him, that not one, he really does kind of give chances to the youngins. So I was really impressed, and I think, like, that's one of those players, like, there's going to be, I feel like, pressure on him now to be that spark of when you're playing a Leverkusen or even a Wolfsburg for this last part of the season, and you just got to shift the momentum, because those, especially Leverkusen, like, those are really strong momentum teams. So I think if he can keep playing like this, like that's going to be really encouraging.
Have you, by chance, has anything stood out to you about Daniel Svensson? I know, again, this isn't your team and I'm throwing a bunch of names at you, but just for the two loanees we've had so far, Chukwuemeka is obviously very impressed, but I'm just not sure if you had any thoughts on Svensson or just the team in general, how we've looked differently under Kovac this second half of the season.
I'll do team in general because I genuinely, like, did not know who scored for a second.
That's totally fine.
When Svensson got that sneaky lad goal.
Did Brandt for a second? Cause
I did think it was Brandt, yes.
There's been
I did think it was Brandt.
Multiple times where I'd seen him, like, running back and getting a recovery or putting a tackle in, and I was like, oh my God, Brandt is putting in the work.
That's
like, no, that's
Svensson. If he's actually putting in the work to run back and get the tackle, it's probably Svensson.
Yeah, I feel like I got it now. I can differentiate them now. It's easier because Brandt's not playing. But
yeah,
those first couple games, I was like, Jesus, Brandt's going crazy.
R.I.P. Brandt-assance. We miss you, Brandt. But no, I think Kovac, I think his impact is undoubtable. Like, I think there was that period where there's just undoing whatever the hell happened in that first part. And now that he's kind of comfortable, now that he's done his stuff that usually gets crap for, of like calling out players and like really being like, no one on this team's motivated, like doing that stuff. I think that ended up motivating the team. So it leaves me to ask if they had just hired him in the first place, or like hired him earlier instead of doing the whole, oh my God, who was even the coach before?
Shaheen and Tolberg. We had two other coaches. Of course, Tolberg was the interim, and that was always the plan, but either way.
I mean, it leads me to ask, like, what would have happened if they had just cut the brakes a little sooner and put him in and had that adjustment period early in the season. But no, it's super encouraging. And I think one thing that that really helped Dortmund is that the table is so messed up this year. You have plenty of teams on like 4-game losing streaks that are in 6. So that gap got closed really quickly, and you just have to keep closing it. And it sucks because I'm sure the players are tired, like you're saying. Kovac is I feel like the Thibodeau of soccer, but I think he's got it. And if he does get it, I think the question for you two is if you'd want him to be the long-term coach.
I know I've been asking that question to myself here more recently, because I think, I don't want to speak, of course, for everyone, but I feel like the general sense for me and others has been just him trying to get us through the end of the season and then looking elsewhere and seeing what other managerial options are actually available come this summer. But I do want to emphasize the point that you made about just him coming in a little bit sooner, because I too, what position would we be in? Would we be in a bit more of a cushion situation for actually be a few more points, which are so crucial right now for us to be up the table higher, and actually be in a European spot already to begin with. I mean, granted, remember, Shaheen not only got until the break, but 4 games afterwards, we had 4 losses in a row. Yes, it was against Leverkusen, Frankfurt, but the other 2 games, he was playing Holstein Kiel and then also Bologna here in the Champions League, So 4 losses in a row, 2 of those against pretty tough opponents, but the other 2 very achievable. And had Kovac come in a little bit earlier, maybe we would have had even scrapped together 3-4 points out of those 3 league games, and even maybe a draw or something against Bologna. So, we could have been obviously in a much different position here, but we just got to look forward. And Kovac, I know, mentioned at the end of this last game that we can't look left or right at the other oppositions around us. We just got to look ahead of us. And that's definitely the right mentality that we need to have. These players need to take it one step at a time. However, us, on the other hand, I have been meticulously looking at the schedule for everyone above us in the table, because it is very fascinating. I'm just given how the stars are aligning here for us to actually salvage somehow, potentially, top 4 if we pull our weight.
I'll hit on a couple Kovac things too, and I'll answer the question of whether I want him to stay or not. But first, it is we were calling for Shaheen out for so long. And Jake, don't feel too bad, because literally, if it wasn't last episode, it was the episode before, I was going on some rant, and I came to the point where I should have said, that mother effer Shaheen, and I completely forgot his name, and I was like, who? Yeah. I completely forgot who it was. So, and that's me who watched week in, week out Dortmund every time. So don't feel too bad. But I know there was a lot of speculation around the winter break, and that's when it felt like the right time to do it, because you have that time. And I think, as I pointed out earlier, that international break that he had, and now things are just like firing on all cylinders. If he would have came in and maybe it's random, but I'd feel like you get some extra time to work with guys. You get time to implement what you want to do. Mm-hmm. And now we're seeing that product, right? And if he would have came in during the winter break, had that extra time, because he came in and was immediately, it was Champions League. It was just in the thick of it, right? And there's only so much you can do from a coaching and training perspective when you're just matches every 3 to 4 days. Like there's not a lot of time, because you have to do region and recovery, and then it's like just looking at the tactics of the other team and trying to figure that out. There's not a lot you can do in a coaching sense when you just jump in the thick of it, and you just have a couple days to work with the guys. So it's just kind of trying to survive that. And then again, like I said, he gets the time, and now we're kind of flying. He figured out what he wanted to do with the system, and now it's working and clicking. And if we stay on this trajectory, like I say, if he gets Europe, he has to stick around. Why not? Like, I don't want to go through, like, this should be a big summer where we make a lot of changes. Like, a lot of guys should be going, and we should bring a lot more guys in. And if I know, like, all leagues work and clubs work differently, but it seems like, I mean, Bundesliga, German teams more generally, it's like you have the sporting director who kind of runs all of that, players in and out. But if you can work this partnership and you have him giving some say or like some preference, and he's here for next year. I think, did he sign an 18-month contract? I don't remember if it was 18 months because I know that's what he wanted.
Was.
And they were a little reluctant.
That was the only reason he was going to sign. Yeah.
Like, again, if he gets Europe, let him stay. Like, why try to just do this turnover
that was the
again?
bare minimum that we were looking for to actually, at least according to reports, that we were going to fulfill that part of the deal, is if you were to actually get us in back to a European spot. I can't remember if it was actually just European as a flat minimum or if it was Champions League. Yeah. Either way, I don't think it's wrong for us to play the field, explore the market a bit, see if there's any whisperings of departures from the likes of Sebastian Hoeneß. I mean, a few other decent options I think that we could be looking at. But we also have a lot of players that I think fit this system for Kovac as well. I mean, Daniel Svensson is one of them, who also right at the end of the game here in the mix zone saying, I enjoy training and playing here every day. It was an important goal that I scored in front of the crowd. It was incredible. So many emotions. He also said that he scored his first goal at his previous club with a header as well. But you have the likes of Svensson, Ryerson, Schlotterbeck, Adeyemi, Bayer, a lot of players who have very high work rates off the ball too. And I think that really favors a lot of what Kovac is trying to accomplish in his game plan. And you're seeing that come into fruition here more and more as time goes on and he builds a little bit more consistency. So it does sound intriguing, but I do think that the club could also be ambitious in the sense of just kind of, again, exploring the market, as long as it's a qualified candidate who's not learning on the job. We can't afford another season like this.
Well, I think that when we talk about Kovac, I think that's the one thing that actually does benefit Dortmund is he is kind of a no-sense coach. And I feel like when you look at all of the coaches in Dortmund's past history, you're like, wow, that's probably missing. So I do think there is that positive, but you're right. Like, even though you don't want to just go with the safe option, like, I feel like a lot of cards are going to fall depending on what happens with Xabi Alonso. So I think just staying open, but I think if you head back into this next season in Europe with Kovac, like, there's a lot worse situations you can find yourself in next season.
We've had a lot of nonsense.
To say the least.
Yeah. Kind of a clown show, actually.
Yeah. I do want to dive back into the match a bit before we kind of look at the table and then upcoming match and everything. And just this stretch of goals that we had really quick, because obviously we go down in the 24th minute to Gladbach, letting was he a center back?
Just run through. Excuse me, the center back. Yeah. Pretty poor defending. We have to defend from the front, right? And Adeyemi kind of let him slip by. I get that you're not expecting a center back to go on a run like that. I think that's a pretty classic like Schlotterbeck run, but at the same time, they did just kind of come right down our throats, and we've been stung by that very similar play going straight down the middle a handful of times this season.
But fast forward, we see Bayer go down, and in this moment, I'm thinking, oh, crap, because I'm also thinking like Bayer's a guy we've been able to rely on a little more lately. Like, he's getting multiple goal contributions. He's a guy who just has great work effort, like always goes in, and then he goes down, and I'm like, we're down, and now he's out. And honestly, because I probably wasn't expecting Chukwuemeka to come in as the sub, I was thinking it was going to be Jamie Gittens, and we just haven't seen as much from him. But as Kovac is a no-nonsense coach, he's like, nope, I'm going to put this guy in, going to tweak the system a little bit where he plays as a 10, and immediately, like, we see his impact and his contributions to the goals. It was like we scored in the first 44th, and then stoppage time, closing out the half with 3 goals. And was it on the first goal? Did he win the ball back in the press and get it up to Gross, who crossed it across to Girassi for that was such a good finish, just the one time. And the ball just getting through the defenders and everything. I don't know. It was great.
We found space at the top of the box for a shot on a few occasions. Mecha was a similar case here. I can't remember if it was a dummy, if I'm not wrong, from Adeyemi, but very similar play here and great finishing from both Mecha and Girassi. Yeah.
I was also, you mentioned it, but Mecha, it was good seeing him get a goal after being out so long with injury, and just seeing him. I know he started the Barcelona match, but getting, I would say, like a first real start where you've had a little more time to get your minutes in. I know he gave away the penalty in the second half, and I just kind of want to write that off because I feel like he had a good game regardless, and I like him and Gross in there. I feel like Gross has been really solid in this last run of games too. So I'm happy for him to get the goal. Really stupid that he gave away the penalty. And then Svensson, we already touched on him, but him getting that goal, and then who knew that he could do a flip? No one was ready for that. There's a photo. I think it was Mecha behind him who's just like freaking out that he's like, well, You're not out of Yimmy.
If I was a Dortmund fan, I'd never want my players to do backflips. Don't even tempt fate. Don't even.
We got side flips. We got gainers.
Just walk. Just
All
brisk walk celebration.
A lot of nonsense and a lot of flips.
Yeah, we had a handful of decent changes this game, and Rierson was able to get some minutes as well. Sula coming off it, and Chan getting some minutes as well. So the game management by Kovac, again, managing the load for some of these players that looked, again, very gassed. This was an exhausting game plan with lots of transitions. Gladbach, our team that plays in the front foot, and again, a lot of wide areas. Kleindienst was a handful for us as well, and he was very physical, and a few flagrant fouls towards the end of this game. So there was a lot of combative play, like Kovac mentioned. But again, I still think we could be a bit more clean here in these final moments of games whenever, again, we have such little room for error. But in the end, I did want to mention, too, 900th Bundesliga victory for the club. Only Bayern has achieved this milestone, so huge for us to actually enter that realm. And we look onward. Is there any other thoughts that you guys had from this game?
That game did turn evil out of nowhere. Like, there's the whole Stoger celebrating in front of the wall. I was what happened? Like, this was kind of a chill game up until then. But
the penalty, Girassi going up there, and then everyone pushing him away, and then he celebrates, like, the yellow cards in that penalty sequence was just so funny. It was, crazy.
Mm-hmm. That's also the last place I'd ever want to celebrate a goal if I was an opposing player, dude.
Right.
I don't know if that was a temporary lapse of judgment, but
I will say, although I was, and maybe I can say this now because we won, right? We were able to pull it back and get the win. But I think what happened in the 24th minute when they scored it in me panic mode already was because it was so cagey and back and forth at first. And while we were getting chances, they were too, and they scored first. I had this, because I'm a Dortmund fan and what we've been dealing with all season, just like, oh no, like we're not going to be able to recover from this mentally. But I also think this is something where Kovac has helped so much, where, like you mentioned, like he's gotten in there and whatever he's done to them, to yell at them, to say you're lazy pieces of crap, like they are motivated. And that's why that's what we've seen in this last run of games. And that's why I think we can finish this season strong, because he's doing it tactically. He's getting them mentally ready. Like it's just a completely different team than what we've seen. So
if you guys don't mind, I was just going to run through real quick some of these last few fixtures for the games above us, the teams above us. And then Jake, I'd be curious to hear what your predictions are for this top four and how the Bundesliga will end. Imagine Bayern's pretty much got it locked in. Leverkusen's 12 points above Frankfurt, so they're probably a lock for that second spot. But 3rd through 7th, really 3rd through 9th, is really tight. Only a handful of points separating the teams here. But so Dortmund are in 7th. Just above us, Mainz are in 6th. Their last 4 games are Bayern Munich up next, Frankfurt the week after, Bochum after that, and then ending the season against Leverkusen. Really, really tough. 3 out of the 4. I can't imagine them picking up many points. Freiburg, just above them, they have Wolfsburg, Leverkusen, Kiel, and Frankfurt. More games with teams that are right next to them in the table. Then you have Leipzig, who are in 4th at the moment, and they have Frankfurt, Bayern, Bremen, then Stuttgart. All really, really tasty and very favorable and fortunate for us, because you look at the last few games for us. Yes, we do have Leverkusen on the second to last day, but Hoffenheim coming up, it is away, and it is tough for us to get points there. Yes. But hopefully, again, this is another big mental test, and we have a full week's rest for us to actually go and come at Hoffenheim. And I think it's a very achievable game, albeit, again, going to be difficult. But then you have Wolfsburg after that, Leverkusen, and then ending the season at home against Kiel. Very favorable there. And then lastly, Frankfurt in 3rd. They have Leipzig, Mainz, St. Pauli, and then Freiburg. A lot of really big games, man. The end of this season is coming up. Is going to be so tasty for these last few fixtures. But outside of 1st or 2nd, who you have for 3rd and 4th here, Jake? And I'm not pressuring you to say us. I'm curious to hear your honest answer here.
I would be surprised if you said I don't think I'd agree with you if you said us.
This is just impossible. This is crazy to predict, right? And I think one team that you have skipped, who have had the best form in the last 5 games in the league, is Bremen. Suddenly coming.
They are tied on both
absolutely
of us,
out of nowhere.
Yep.
But I mean, hey, it is so hard to pick out for sure teams in here. I think Frankfurt hold on. They've kind of benefited themselves of having a good goal differential, and I don't see them.
They're at a Europa League now too, so they could just focus on the league as well.
So I don't see them sliding too hard. Leipzig, I've wondered, because that is a rough end to the season. You're playing a lot of teams that are on fire here. I think Freiburg suddenly, he's looked at the calendar and realized there's not many games left, so now they're playing very well. I think one of the cases that this will depend on heavily is Mainz, because I think out of the top 7 or 8 right now, they're playing probably the worst right now. I don't think they have a win in their last 5, so if they continue to slide like I think they're going to, that's something that either Dortmund or Bremen can really sneak in on. It's hard. I guess I'll be a man of commitment. I'll figure out something here.
Yeah, it is interesting looking at, not to cut you off, but with Mainz, they won 4 out of their last 5 in February going into March, and then just the most recent 5, they haven't won at all. Just draws and losses.
I mean, Burkhardt, like, I feel like when you center your team around Burkhardt and Burkhardt's not playing very well, then you get what they got. I think I'm going to go extra Bodinho here. I'm going to say Leipzig misses Europe.
Whoa.
Yes!
Yeah. I mean, they're playing okay for right now, but that schedule is not...
Yeah.
I think one of the things that knocks against Leipzig is that they play down to their opponent, and they're only playing good teams. So,
away at Frankfurt and then to host Bayern. I mean, I'm praying to God it happens, but I don't feel like they'll pick up a point really in any of those games.
I mean, even Bremen, like they're playing Bremen, but Bremen's playing their hearts out right now. So I think even Leipzig being in the spot they're in now is sacrilege because they have not played very well this season. So I'm going to pick them to get out. I'm going to say that Freiburg sneaks into 4th, you guys in 5th, and then Bremen in 6th.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see how Bremen finishes out the season too. I haven't really taken into account their form, and I keep forgetting that even though we have a much better goal differential, they're tied on points with us.
Well, so I mean, they have +6, we're +10, so it's not too crazy. But yeah, tied on points. I also have their matches pulled up. St. Pauli this weekend, away at Union Berlin. Then they play Leipzig, which is going to be that's going to be so interesting.
Yeah.
And then they end the season at Heidenheim. So plenty of opportunity to get points, especially if they can. The Leipzig just drew on the weekend too to Heidenheim. So it's like that's going to knock down their confidence a bit. Like this could be really tricky for Leipzig, which you love to see. But yeah, the Werder Bremen's a crazy shout, and that's going to be interesting to watch them too, especially with them just right on our tails. But, You
got a top 4 in mind for yourself, Jacob?
Oh, man.
Or those 3rd and 4th spot, I guess?
No.
I'm going to go Frankfurt in 3rd and then us in 4th. And I know it's biased, but I'm still putting us up there.
I think Frankfurt 3rd. I think that's an easy shout. It's this 4th spot. I almost feel like, and it's probably because I wrote us off so much not too long ago. It's hard for me to even accept that we have a chance to make Champions League. I feel like we're going to land in 5th. I don't know who's going to take that 4th spot. Probably Freiburg. Unless Werder Bremen just does crazy stuff.
That goal differential is working against Freiburg so badly, though.
Oh, man.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Making Champions League with a -4 goal differential, that is the perfect encapsulation of the season.
Right. Oh, man.
It would be so Dortmund of us to make it in Champions League. And then we'd be like, why were we even freaking out earlier?
Yeah, this is easy. Shine, get back in here. Oh, I just dropped my cup. I went to wave to no one, and then I smacked my cup off my desk. Sorry.
I feel like it would be the reverse of last season, where you guys were in 5th, and you're like, what the heck? And then this season, you're like, oh my God, we're in 5th. Like,
yeah, we'll take it. Yeah.
Man, we could do it. Wow.
And then my last thing, just a real quick touch on the women's team again. I mentioned it last week that they do play Schalke here this weekend. They're still 1 point above them in the table. That is going to pretty much be the sole determiner of how this season ends. Even the goal differential actually between Schalke and Dortmund is actually not that crazy. It's 20 goals, but you look at the table here, Dortmund have 97 goals scored, 12 conceded, which is insane. Somehow Schalke have less goals conceded. They have 75 scored, not as many, but only 11 conceded. So very, very defensive informed team and defensive-oriented team. I can't stress enough the size of that game. But even also outside of the league and the Verbandspokal, Dortmund are also going to the final as well with the most recent win. I'll try to find it here as we keep talking, but they won 19-0. Or they might be thinking of a different game. Sorry, that might actually have been against Bielefeld. That was just a few days ago. That was a game of previous, but they'll be in the Verbandspokal final regardless here. So not only in the league are we looking at some great success and promotion, but also potential silverware in a cup competition as well. If anybody had any thoughts on that.
Shout out Soccer Donna.
Yeah.
No, I mean, that's huge, right? Like, I think you're seeing this with recent addition Union Berlin of these teams that put a ton of work into their women's teams a while ago, and now you're starting to see the results of that. Like, I think, like Dortmund, I think has put a ton of work into theirs. Like, ironically, I'm not going to say anything good about them, but Schalke as well. It's nice to see. Like, I wish that there is this level of investment that was possible without teams that have big men's team. But
yeah.
I think, like, for a fan base like Dortmund, like, having a women's team that is inching its way up to being in first, and kind of like the press that goes with that, and the good feelings. And I know the club will advertise the women's team well when they do get to even the second league. I mean, it's always good stuff. So it's good to see. Schalke has not lost in the league, so it'd be interesting if they could end that season, that run for them. That would be pretty funny. It's never wrong seeing investment in women's teams, honestly.
And
Dortmund have only lost to one. Yeah, only one loss between the two teams is kind of wild, even given the competition in this division. That's nuts.
And this is the only derby we're going to get for a very long time. So people better enjoy it.
Yeah.
No, it's exciting to as you said, like investing in the team and just how much it's grown the women's structure, because they started a few years ago with just the women's team, and then they quickly added a BVB Frauen too. Like they have a second team, a development team, and now we have, is it a U19? Like they're building out the women's academy too, or younger teams underneath that, which, I mean, in that first year we saw a lot of really young players, and they were playing a couple divisions below, so you can do that. But it's cool that they're not only like they built the team and they're climbing the ranks, but they're like supplementing that too with the development, and that's just going to continue to grow, which is so cool to see. And we've been, shout out to Adam Jarosky, but who we met in a big part of the show. We need to get him on, by the way. It's been a while, but he's one who turned us onto the women's team when they first launched, and so it's cool that Carver and I been able to follow them since the beginning, which is really cool, and hopefully get more people involved and seeing what they're doing, because they have been flying, but now things are getting a little more competitive where you got that tough competition, and now we have the Rivierderby back, and it means something. It means like it could mean winning the league, which is really exciting. So
just to fact check myself real quick. Sorry. So it was actually Bielefeld in the Verbandspokal, and that was 3-0. And not to be confused with a few weeks ago when I mentioned it, we played Bielefeld 2, and that was in the Verbandsliga. And so that we got a chance to beat both teams, first and second team, and not concede a goal against either as well. So, I mean, they're flying against teams that are, Bielefeld is even a higher division than Dortmund as well. So, you know, they're flying on all cylinders here. Just wanted to clarify that stat. Sorry.
Jake, I've got one more thing. I'm going to put you on the spot because we did not discuss this before we started recording. But before we wrap, I want to know your quick predictions for who is moving up from this 5 Bundesliga. Who's getting promoted?
Legally, I want immunity from anything I'm about to say. No one can say that I'm biased after what I'm going to say.
We got you.
They're top of the league. They're top of the league. You can say it.
I'm not
top
saying
of the league.
I need your verbal confirmation that this will not be held in.
We got you. We got you right here.
Okay. Cologne, if they don't get promoted, I'm not saying I would crash out, but I would maybe allegedly crash out.
Yeah.
I also need the funniest thing to happen in the world of Hamburg not getting promoted, even though they almost have a plus 30 goal differential.
It happens almost
They're
every
already
year.
Starting their slide. They haven't won a game in 2 games. They're doing their thing. And then it just gets insane, right? Like 3 through 10.
Table's so tight. It's crazy.
I think Elversberg being promoted would be funny because I think everyone sees them on the table, but even Germans, I've still not met someone who knows a single thing about Elversberg. So
every time I see their logo, I'm like, oh, this is like a 3 Bundesliga team, right? Like I'm like, no, they're not in the second division.
Yeah.
Well, their claim to fame is when they eliminated Leverkusen in the first round of the Pokal like 3 years ago or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
My legal answer is I don't know, because this is going to go to like the last minute of the season. Like, whatever happens, like, it's not going to be one of those things where it's like the last day everyone can take a nap. Like, put on conference. This is going to get super, super messy. But I'm just saying, if Köln doesn't end in a promotion spot, I will not be available for comment on said matter.
That's fair. I mean, you look also the last few games, it's pretty favorable as well, right? I mean, Hanover is not far up the table.
There's no favorable games with Köln. Don't you worry. There's no such thing. They could be playing us three, just us three, not even a full 11, and we might get.
Yeah, Jake said the last one, or Jacob, excuse me, said the last question, but I actually have one more too. Who do you have for the Pokal final? And for anyone that doesn't know, we have a banger of a final this year between Stuttgart and Bielefeld.
Boys, we have a morally okay Pokal for once.
Yes, I know. That's what I'm saying.
For once, it doesn't feel like the fate of the universe is hanging in the negative way. I could just watch the game with a nice little cheery smile on and not feel like something bad's gonna happen. I mean, I think as cool as it would be for Stuttgart to win, like, come on, like Bielefeld in Europa League.
Yeah, right. While fighting for in the third division,
they could theoretically preface a DFB Pokal with relegation playoffs. Like, come on, man. We need it. We need that. But that crowd's gonna be. Oh man, if you don't tune in for soccer, the crowd is gonna be like I don't think we've ever seen a Pokal in a very long time. So that is a must watch.
Yeah, I remember Kaiserslautern last year was really cool too. Their tifo was incredible. So I'd love to see. I'm very excited to see the atmosphere between both of them. And of course, the safe bet is Stuttgart. But I mean, the fact that Bielefeld was able to knock out Leverkusen, a team with even higher quality, and Stuttgart have kind of taken a bit of a hit in terms of their confidence and just form in the second half of the season too, as they slowly slip down. So I mean, I think it's really anyone's game.
I mean, Bielefeld had not been scored on more than once in the entire tournament, and they played 4 Bundesliga teams so far. Mm-hmm. So they're not. I think people are just going to blank out and pick Stuttgart, but I would not.
Yeah, they beat Freiburg, and then it was Bremen, then Leverkusen. Yeah, 3 Bundesliga teams in a row.
Yeah.
And then Union Berlin, too.
Yeah.
Crazy. Yeah. So, just so you can put it on your calendars, May 24th is the Pokal final. It's going to be really exciting. Dortmund is back it is Saturday, double confirmed before I got on the pod. It's Saturday, 9:30 Eastern Time, 8:30 Central. Way earlier if you're on the West Coast, so apologies. But I think that kind of wraps it up. We appreciate you guys hanging out and listening. Jake,
don't forget
Harper's got something.
Sunday, don't forget against Schalke, the Frauen team. That's at, I believe, 3:30 local time, if I'm not wrong. Sorry if it's incorrect.
I'll fact check everything, and I'm going to put the details in the description of this episode. So just look down there for all your info. Jake, thanks so much for joining us, man. We appreciate it. It's always good having you.
Thanks for inviting me. I love being on here with you guys. And I got the limited edition.
Limited edition. That's a good way to put it. Limited edition.
I'm apparently legally liable for this. So if you're watching this, Dortmund, they just sent me this. It just showed up on my doorstep.
How'd you print that? Did you print that yourself?
I woke up and it was just here. Oh, man. Dortmund calls just left it in here. So
I like limited edition. That's good. Appreciate you.
We got to start calling our lawyers after this one, Jacob.
Oh, well, it's a good way to end it. Thank you guys so much for listening. Everything, I didn't plug it, but if you want to join our Discord, if you want to chat with us through the week about Dortmund, about not Dortmund, about the match, about everything, you can find the link to our Discord in the description of this episode, as with everything else, as with all the info about Jake and 50 Plus Donner. And we will see you guys later.